Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I'm your host, Vanessa Baldwin. I am a classical homeopath. I am also a quantum and circadian clinician, as well as a rhythmic movement specialist and an ancestral health practitioner. So, yeah, through my own healing challenges, I've learned a great deal of information about how to support people and help them heal, as well as a health coach. So, lots of different titles, but thank you so much for being here with me. And what I really do is I help people get to the bottom of their chronic disease issues and help them really heal and help empower people to really learn how to heal themselves. I'm the guide, right? I help you become the transformation. And today I want to talk about the carnivore diet. And this has come recently back into my mind because a couple people were sharing more stories about the carnivore diet. I hear more stories of not so great things. And I want to just share that because I think that we can come to the space, right? And we can see, oh, wow, there's this diet out there that can heal everything. And people tout it as that. And you're like, yeah, this makes so much sense. I just eliminate all of these plant toxins and I'm going to heal, right? And I can say this now as a person who has totally been there. I'm looking over at my books right there. I have four books on the carnivore diet. I went all in on the carnivore diet back in 2021 when my health had a severe crash. And I was like, it's got to be the food. It's all of the food that I'm eating. And then I was hearing about plant toxins and oxalates and histamine, which carnivore diet is not a low histamine diet, by the way, and can exacerbate histamine issues, even if you buy like the meat that is, um, flash frozen and like, not aged. It can still be a very pro histamine diet. And I can talk about a couple of reasons why. But fell into this like, oh, carnivore is going to heal me. It's going to be the solution. I just need to remove all of these foods that are irritating my body and I'll get healthier. And I actually was working with a nutritionist at the time, which will remain nameless because I don't want to dog anybody. But um, what happened to me, my experience on the carnivore diet, I'll share it with you now, was I got really sick in 2021 after a medical intervention that was really popular in 2021. And I was already dealing with some health issues. And I was already previously eating a low calorie diet. So I was already restricting my diet, already eating a low fat diet, restricting my calories and over exercising. And I had started to develop some autoimmunity. So I was in a very depleted state. And then I put this intervention in my body and I had a crash. And then what I did was, because I had the crash, I started restricting more foods because I thought it was food. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go autoimmune protocol, AIP. I'm going to take out like low oxalate, low histamine diet. So I did that for a little while. I did that for about 6 months. I did not get any better on that. There was no improvement. And I removed things, of course, like gluten and dairy and eggs and nuts and seeds and, all the things that were supposed to trigger autoimmune issues. I didn't feel any better on that. And then I was also doing like low histamine, low oxalate. So I was like super stressed about all foods and tons of food fear. I've had conversations about food fear. So then, because I wasn't getting better, I'm like, oh, you have to restrict more. And what my body needed wasn't to restrict more, it was nourishment. And I'll get to the happier place when it comes to what healed me or helped me heal in food in a little while. So I met with this, I had been working with practitioners and then I met with this other nutritionist and I was kind of saying I want to do the carnivore diet and she was like, okay, do it, and we did it. And what happened is I developed severe chronic water diarrhea several times a day. Um, I got down to 95 pounds. I developed tinnitus and I lost my cycle. And why is this happening? Like, what is the problem here going on? It's like, really, my body was already depleted and now I restricted more. My thyroid plummeted, my leptin plummeted. My body was like, we're not having a baby. You're not safe. You're in a famine. There's scarcity. We need to put every single reserve we can, right? Hold on to every single thing we can. And my body was super stressed, keeping my body in the in the sympathetic dominance instead of the parasympathetic, right? Carbs help the body be in the parasympathetic, just so we are clear here. Um, and I was getting worse and worse, but I continued the dogma because I'm like the carnivore diet, like it heals all the people. Like I had listened to tons of podcasts and tons of people and read the books, and I'm like, it's gonna heal, it's gonna work. I just need to figure out how to digest the fats better. I need to take the TUDCA, I need to take the ox bile, I need to eat more fat. I need like it just was like, and my body hates a lot of fat, by the way. My body doesn't like that kind of diet very much. I was never in ketosis because I was eating way more protein than needed. Um, and I was eating only boiled meat and salt and water. I knew nothing about structured water. I knew nothing about circadian biology. I knew nothing about connecting with like how to connect with nature and all these things, which I kind of started to simultaneously learn as I was going through the carnivore phase. Like I started incorporating small bits of that. Um, anyway, I was really just down regulating everything. Like when your leptin and your thyroid and your hormones, like I literally had no hormones. I had a Dutch test done at this time. And then my functional medicine doctor, actually, this was a naturopathic doctor at the time, and she was like, you have the hormones of like an 80-year-old woman. And that was partly due to living in restriction for so long. And it wasn't just the carnivore diet, it was the low fat diet for so long, and then the AIP diet, and then the low oxalate, low histamine, and then the carnivore. It was like a year of restriction. So I had the way to get my body, my cycle back was I had to bring carbohydrates back. And that did work. And I did local, seasonal, small amounts. And after a couple months, I did get my cycle back. So thank goodness. The tinnitus is something I'm still working on. It's like probably like 95% better. Every once in a while, I'll notice it in the morning when I wake up, which is annoying. But yeah, that was a reaction of my body being super stressed. And there's a huge mineral depletion on carnivore. And you could take all the electrolytes you want and all that nonsense. There's still going to be uh, microbiome deficiency, fiber deficiency. I know they tell you you don't need fiber to poop. And no, you don't need fiber to poop. I prove that. You will have water liquid diarrhea. But my brother, I have two brothers, Michael and Richie. My brother Michael was the one who kind of was like, you got to do the carnivore diet because it healed his gut and it worked great. So this is another person in my life saying, oh, this is the panacea diet. This is the diet that's going to fix everything. He was like, and it worked for him. But my brother Richie also did it the same time as me, the carnivore diet. And he developed chronic constipation and he tried eating more fat and he tried taking the supplements to help his fat digestion. And that chronic constipation also gave him prostatitis and a hernia in his groin that he still has not gotten rid of. The prostatitis he has solved. He used a lot of peptides to solve that, but this is what I'm talking about. There are consequences to putting your body into extremes. And I know the carnivore people are going to come after me and be like, wah, wah, wah. But I am not the only one who did not do well on this diet. And diet is freaking not one size fits all. I'm sorry, not everybody's going to do great on this kind of diet. And I'm sure certain people do great on this diet. But I have seen long-term side effects really, especially for women, depleting hormones, depleting metabolic function, depleting the gut microbiome, causing histamine issues, tanking hormones and leptin and thyroid, and just making the body feel like it's living in this scarcity system. So those are just some experiences I want to share with you. And I want you to know that like I said, carnivore diet's not for everybody. And then like people will say, oh, do the carnivore diet. And, when your symptoms get better, start adding more foods like an elimination diet. But what happens like me when you do carnivore diet and things just keep getting worse? And nothing ever gets better. And then you're like, well, frick, what do I add in? How do I know what to add in? Like, I was in that dilemma for a long time. So much food fear. Oh my God. The fact that I can go pick tomatoes out of my garden and make tomato soup and enjoy it now without any food reaction is amazing. And you know what helped? Diversifying my gut microbiome with seasonal, local, ancestral foods, not scarcity. My gut microbiome needs more diversity to thrive. And I think that's honestly the truth of most people. And I do that in a seasonal, local fashion, which is what I promote. Anyway, there are long-term side effects of this diet. I don't recommend it to clients really ever, based on my own experiences and my clients' experiences. The amount of clients who have come to me and been like, I tried this carnivore diet and I got worse, or X, Y, and Z happened, or I felt better for a little bit of time, but then it got worse because sometimes you're removing all the inflammatory, like, processed and packaged foods. So you can feel a little bit better for the short term, but then long term, it starts to like not feel great. It's very stressful for the system. And then, of course, there's this summer versus winter metabolism. Like promote a seasonal local ancestral diet, which is what we've been eating for millennia. Um, and the body, right, is in tune with what nature is providing, okay? And we have different metabolisms. We have mTOR, which is meant to be used in the summer and fall. We're still in mTOR right now. I'm recording this in the fall, although it might not come out till later. But that's the season of mTOR and summer and fall are the season of mTOR, which is where you're burning glucose for fuel primarily. We have a lot of simple sugars available. Then we have a lot of hearty, complex carbohydrates available, like your squashes and whatnot, and potatoes in the fall. We're meant to eat those and we're meant to like bulk up for winter, right? A little bit in the fall and then lose that weight in the winter. We're meant to go into the AMPK metabolism. Okay, this is working with the rhythms of nature, the cycles of nature, working with your circadian biology. We're meant to go in this AMPK pathway where there would be a little bit of more scarcity and a little bit more keto carnivore kind of metabolism where you're burning more fat for fuel and you're having longer intermittent fasting because the light is less during the day, right? Abundance of food, abundance of light, and abundance of food. Not so abundance of light, less abundance of food, right? And your winter and spring is more of your AMPK pathway where you're burning more fat for fuel. Now, I don't strictly go into carnivore over the winter. I may have a day that looks like more carnivore-ish, but I'm certainly not restricting eggs or dairy or raw dairy or, things like that as well. And then the next day, I'm gonna cycle in some squashes, some potatoes, some root veggies. I'm not like restrictive. I feel so much more intuitive, so much more connected, so much more grounded, so much more, my gut microbiome feels so much stronger. I have barely any no food reactions anymore. I shock myself when I try new things like this fall. I was like, brown rice pasta, which used to give me joint pain, or even basmati rice, which used to give me joint pain, or potatoes, or nightshades, or none of these things bother me anymore. And really, honestly, my gut microbiome, my body needed safety, not scarcity to heal. And that's why this is a very nuanced conversation because you might come to the situation and you might also need, it might be winter, but your body may not need AMP pathway or ketosis because your body needs a little bit more safety instead of scarcity because you've been stressing it out so much with years of carnivore or keto. Right. So that also does depend. I've also seen blood sugar. I know many clients that blood sugar has continuously, because you think, oh, you're not eating any carbohydrates, your blood sugar will be more stable. But I've seen that backfire over years when the body gets too stressed and the baseline blood sugar continues to go up and up and up and up. And of course, there's gluconeogenesis. And if you're eating too much protein, you can also take that and turn it into sugar. And the body's going to do that because the body actually needs glucose to live. Yes, the heart and the brain love ketones, but the body also needs glucose. It's all about the right balance. So maybe this is getting confusing, but it's really simple when you go down to the basics, and you can always work with me to understand more or get my Ancestrally and Seasonally Nourished webinar and recipe ebook, which has like, I think 200 recipes now because I'm always adding more, and you'll really understand what I'm talking about here. But yeah, it's a very stressful for the body to have to do gluconeogenesis because the glucose is like I use this example all the time for carnivore people because carnivore people will say, oh, cholesterol is vital, right? Your body will make it if there's not enough. True. Glucose is also vital, and your body will make it if you don't have enough. That's why, like, your body actually needs glucose. So it will use protein, it'll break it down and turn it into sugar. So anyway, I also want to just point out that I don't believe, and I've never seen this to be the case in any client that has come to me, not even one in the many hundreds of clients I've seen, that diet has healed a person. I don't think diet is capable of healing because I don't think diet is root cause. I have a really great video on this YouTube channel about root causes of disease, and diet is not one of them. Of course, if you're eating processed and packaged foods and you're never, you're eating junk, okay, that's a contributor, but it's not the root cause because there's why are you in this self-destructive behavior in the first place, right? We need to dig deeper. We always need to dig deeper. In my case, it was digging deeper into the fear and the anxiety around food, right? And the control around food. This is where we need to dig deeper into. It's not the food, it's you. It's also the gut microbiome who's been greatly disturbed, probably because of use of suppressive medications. The immune system is down. There's lots of other factors. But it's usually, I have never seen diet heal anybody in all my clinical years of practice. So, it can be a support, but it's not usually going to be a fix all. So I just want to see if there's anything else I want to add. I really hope this has been supportive. I do think that if you on a carnivore diet, you're going to have a loss of gut microbiome diversity, for sure. And gut bacteria is really important for, supporting the mucosal lining. And this will weaken the gut integrity, unfortunately, and over time leads to dysbiosis, constipation, which was in my brother's case, diarrhea in my case, impaired detox pathways, since gut bacteria help to metabolize hormones and toxins. So, the gut microbiome is like a rainforest. Remove the plants and the ecosystem collapses. You really do need these things to have it thrive. And I know carnivores are going to come at me about that, but I don't agree with it. So I do think we need the plant fibers and the polyphenols, and fiber actually helps detoxification. Yes, it does. Fiber helps your detoxification process work more efficiently. So yeah. I think the mitochondrial and hormonal imbalances are going to be rampant, especially on long-term carnivore. We can see reduced leptin sensitivity, which is in my case where I had very extremely low leptin. My leptin was a 2, by the way, a 2. I think normal is like 7 or 8 or something like that. It was a 2. It was so low because my body was living in scarcity. It never felt safe. The thyroid conversion, the T3 to T4, my T3 was also very low. So again, low T3, you'll find, the body's in this chronic famine state, metabolism slows, cortisol rises, stress hormone, reproduction hormones decline. Okay, no longer can we feel safe enough to make a baby. That's why I lost my period for 6 months. Yeah, and women in particular may experience irregular cycles, low progesterone, fatigue over time. You can get short-term boosts of energy due to ketones. That can happen, but long-term, the body's going to downshift into conservation mode. And just like, oh my goodness, we have to slow everything down because, like, this is even true if you're living in just in a starvation mode, basically, on a diet. The body's going to shift into conservation mode, right? Everything's going to slow down because you don't have enough fuel coming in. And then you will have reduced detoxification capabilities, like liver phase 1 detox pathway relies on sulfur compounds, amino acids, and plant-derived antioxidants like glutathione precursors, flavonoids, and chlorophyll. Without these detox efficiency will drop, meaning mold, toxins, heavy metals, estrogen metabolites may recirculate. The skin and the kidneys take on an extra burden. So you might have eczema, acne, bladder irritation, ammonia smelling urine. I did it to heal my bladder carnivore diet, which did not help. I don't think the amount of uric acid was really helpful for me at all. And that's the next thing. Too much animal protein is too much acidity, too much uric acid, burdens the kidneys, elevates homocysteine if methylation is sluggish, common in people with an MTHFR variant. This lady right here, there's issues, with cholesterol, which is kind of controversial, but I'm not really concerned about that as much. We're not going to even go into that. And then, you're just the loss of the phytonutrients, the plant intelligence. Plants contain thousands of compounds. Compounds including flavonoids, carotenes, resveratrol, sulforaphane that activate antioxidants and anti-aging genes. Plants protect DNA from oxidative damage, support mitochondrial biogenesis and cell signaling. Plant codes help the body to adapt to environmental stressors, something pure meat cannot do. So there's also this emotional and energetic impact. Meat-only diets are dense, grounding, and contradictive. Good for a short term, possibly, but over time can it suppress emotional flow, intuition, and heart coherence. Lack of plant energy with this light, color, chlorophyll can reduce one's vibrational resonance and connection to nature's cycle. I also think it makes you feel very isolated, very different. That's a whole thing too. We are community people. We want to be in community. So I think, I even caution to say that it can be a therapeutic elimination diet for some for gut healing and autoimmune reset. I definitely wouldn't say more than a few weeks if you wanted to try it. But I would be very cautious of it long term, just with what I've seen. And I would say that diet is not the cure to your health woes. If you are eating whole, real, seasonal, local foods, you will feel a lot healthier. And you don't have to go that restrictive, and you don't have to stress your body out that much, and you don't have to be that rigid or dogmatic. And I think it takes a lot of courage, for us to come out here and say, this diet failed me, right? Especially if it's become your identity, which I know a lot of people in this, some people do make their diet their identity, and then they just don't want to, move away from something like that. But I do think that it's important to share all stories, the good ones and the failures. And I'm a failure on carnivore. It's not for me. I will never go back to it. I likely more likely be vegan than go carnivore, which I'm not going to be vegan anyway either, because I don't think that there's any kind of good, strict, rigid dogma when it comes to diet. I think diversity is important, and I think local, seasonal, ancestral, whole foods diet is the way to go. And then just also listening to your own intuition and what nourishes you. I have somebody, this sparked this conversation too, because somebody I know was just trying the carnivore diet, and it was encouraging, but I also shared my drawbacks of it as well. And they said to me, I really just want an apple. I'm like, well, have an apple. First of all, it's fall, they're in the season, and your body's asking for it. And it also depends on, how much you work out and move. Like, we need carbohydrates. I'm a fan of carbohydrates. I think they reduce stress in our modern world, in our bodies. But I'm also a fan of local seasonal. So in the winter, I eat less carbohydrates, and I let my body know that it's winter by the fuel that I give it. All right, did I harp on this enough? I just want to lastly close out with that food is not root cause. And if you want to get to real root causes of chronic disease, you need to look at the emotional realm and the energetic realm. That is where real root cause is. And then I also want to point out that a lot of times these people who are having success on carnivore diets, if they eat a potato or an onion or some garlic or, God forbid, a tomato or a bell pepper or some spinach, they don't feel well. That to me is not healed. Healing is freedom. I can eat whatever I want when I want to and still feel good. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have none of consequences from eating crap, but I'm talking about in the whole food world realm. And I can basically eat whatever I want without having a negative consequence. I'm going to try sweet potatoes because that was one that used to cause me some bladder pain. And I haven't had them in like 2 years, and I just ordered some from the farm, and I'm sure they're going to go just fine because it's not the freaking food. It's the emotional and the energetic issues that we have, these inherited genetic predispositions, these miasms that have been activated due to triggers in our environment, and the emotional stuff that we carry, the suppressed emotions, the emotional baggage in our brain, the anxiety, the perfectionism, the fear, the worry, all of this, the grief, the suppressed anger, this is all real root cause. So if you want to get to real root cause, you can book in a homeopathic session with me, a flower essence session with me. Those are real root causes. You can work with me one-to-one with coaching, where I help empower you and help guide you to use your own intuition to heal and give you the basics of connecting back to nature and all the foundational things we need to really be healthy. And then if you want to just know my take on diet, get my ancestrally and seasonally nourished webinar. It's a 2-hour webinar about diet and recipe ebook. But I just want you to know there's nuance. Don't go and just be like, hear a guru say carnivore diet fixed all of this and then think it's going to work for you. And if something is not working for you, don't continue to do it. Like, why I continue to stay on the carnivore diet after months of losing my period and chronic diarrhea and getting down to 95 pounds, like, that's dumbass on me. But it's also like sticking with the dogma and being like, oh, so and so said it's going to heal me. It's going to heal me. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. No, that is not how it works. It's not a detox reaction. It's my body screaming and saying, this does not work. Give me some potatoes. I need some carbohydrates. I need some seasonal local squash. Okay, that's it. I think I've said enough for today. This was probably a longer video. If you stuck around, thank you. And tell me your experiences on the carnivore diet. And I'm not going to be upset with you if you say, yeah, it was great for me. I've been on it for years. Great. To each his own. I support you. More power to you. But I do want to know, can you eat other foods without a reaction? Because if you can't, then you're not really healed. Sorry, I'm the one who said it. All right, I'm going to shut up now. Have a good day. Bye.